Hey there, welcome to the garden. Today we are creating a mini kitchen garden in one container. I'm actually really excited about this project. I'm even going to top up this container with some potting mix. So this kitchen garden is going to be all in one raised bed, which is actually technically a container because it's on the patio. If you have a small garden, you have one raised bed, you have room for just a couple pots, you can still have all the elements, all the fun of a kitchen garden, grow some food that you can eat and use in the kitchen and enjoy. We're going to have some flowers in here too because I can't resist. So I'm starting off with organic potting mix. Anytime you're growing in a container, you want to have potting mix. It's going to help with the drainage for the plants, and it's just really important rather than soil right out of the ground. Start with potting mix. I'm going with organic because we are going to be growing some plants in here. And so I love to add just my favorite cooking plants. We have to have tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers. So I'm starting with a tomato. I'm going to put it to the side and the back here so that it can grow out either over the side of the raised bed, or I might have to stake it as well. And I'm putting the pepper next to it. I know that the tomato and the pepper are both going to be probably the tallest things that I have in this raised bed. So I want them toward the back of the bed because I'm going to be looking at it from the other side over there. And then I stuck the eggplant in front. All three of these will probably end up being staked, and they are pretty close together, but I'm kind of banking on the pepper and the tomato going over the back, and then the eggplant kind of filling up that middle section of the raised bed. And I'm probably going to be pruning these very carefully just to keep them from really bothering each other too much. And then along the front, we're going to add strawberries because I think that having a few snacks of strawberries is wonderful in a kitchen garden. And again, they're going to grow over the side of the raised bed, kind of like the tomato, the pepper. I think it's going to make it really easy for my daughter to harvest all of the strawberries, and hopefully it'll be kind of cute as they get bigger. They'll spill all of their fruit over the front of the raised bed. We're going to do 5 strawberries, and then I have one left I'll have to put in a container. But 5 strawberries along the front. I am making this container pretty symmetrical. The 2 other containers, raised beds that I have in this front part of my garden are going to be pretty wild and free. So this is going to be pretty symmetrical. Then we're going to add in some herbs. I'm going to put the basil next to the tomato. Basil and tomatoes kind of have this famous relationship of growing well together. So I figured, why not? That's going to be a good spot for it. The basil is also going to get big. So toward the back of the raised bed made sense for that to grow. And then I picked some chives that are going to go on the other side of the raised bed. And I just put them in the same spot as the basil, just on the other side, because again, I want to have this symmetry in this little kitchen garden. I think it will just add to the overall look of the garden. Now, the chives are pretty small, but they're going to grow quickly. Chives are a pretty fast growing plant, and I can keep tabs on them. I don't think they're going to take up too much space in the garden with just being 1 year that I'm growing here, but chives do spread, so that is something to be mindful of. And then I got out all of my seeds because, love seeds. We got to fill this garden bed up. So I'm going to start here by putting in some Swiss chard, and I just made like a little circle basically on one side, and I'm going to fill that up with some Swiss chard seeds. I did plant them pretty thickly, but I can come in and thin them out as needed, and they're just going to be like a little patch of Swiss chard over there. And then I put in the bunching onions on the other side, and I decided to put them over on this side because it was sort of across from the chives. The bunching onions and the chives are going to sort of look similar. So I thought, you know what, I'll put them on either side of the raised bed, and that will just end up kind of complementing. That way I don't just have a bunch of the same looking things all on one side. And I did sow those pretty heavily. But again, they're bunching onions, so I'm going to be harvesting them as they grow and continuing to thin them out. And then along the sort of back corners, I put my zinnias and my cosmos. So the zinnias and the cosmos are going to be fairly tall as well. I just stuck a couple seeds of each just in the back corners. Will they be a little bit big. Maybe. I think the basil will be able to hold its own, and I think they'll be able to spread all the way along the sides, again, kind of spilling out of the raised bed. I'm sort of accounting for that happening, and I just mix them together, a couple zinnia seeds, a couple cosmos seeds. And then the last thing that I put in this raised bed, I know, we're filling it up, but the last thing I put in were some cucumbers, and I put those next to the edge because they will just vine up and grow out over the side. So they're going to be kind of like the spillers, that we have in a container. They're just going to spill right out the side, and hopefully be just happy doing that. And that is everything. So I'm just tucking everything in and making sure it looks good. And now I'm going to come in and talk to you a little bit more about the specific varieties and why I chose them. So it is a couple days later. We had a ton of wind and it was really hard to come out here and film, but the wind has died down, and let's talk through the specific varieties that I selected for the mini kitchen garden. So the first is the strawberries all along the front here, and I was not super picky about what strawberry variety I selected. There are a few good ones. Seascape is a great variety of strawberries that I've grown in the past. It's done really well in containers. But what I really liked about these is that they are ever-bearing. So of course you get choices with strawberries, whether they're ever-bearing or June-bearing. Because this is a small space, typically for me, I always recommend for the small spaces and the containers just going for an ever-bearing variety, just so you can get a harvest throughout the entire season. You can always come out and there'll be strawberries producing. These are already producing a lot of fruit actually, which is kind of fun. So we should be having more strawberries out here soon. And this is an ever-sweet variety. So again, it is ever-bearing. It's going to produce strawberries all season long. And it said that it does well in hot weather. So that was something I really liked about this. We're obviously out here on the patio. It's going to get hot when the sun is beating down. And so, a strawberry variety that can handle a little bit of heat, I think is going to just do better. And then it also said it's good in containers, which was good too. So we're going to be trying the Eversweet out here. And they already look so happy now that they're in the ground. It's amazing once you get the plants out of their nurseries containers and into their final home, they always perk back up and start to look great. So then we have the pepper, the eggplant, and our tomato here. I went ahead and got a snack pepper. It's nice to have the snack peppers just because you can come out, harvest them often as well. They're these nice little peppers, so they're not going to take forever to ripen. And we honestly only ever eat peppers fresh at kind of basically as snacks. Of course, in the kitchen garden, you want to pick things that you're going to be using, you want to eat. My daughters love to snack on peppers. These are some of their favorite snacks. So I just figured that it would be good to get something they can just pick right off the plant. I do like that they're orange. I wanted just a little bit of interest and contrast in that color. So I did pick the Lunchbox orange mini snack pepper. So it'll just be some like 2 to 3 inch little peppers. The plant already is loaded with buds. So that's exciting to see too. And just gonna come out and eat. Again, with the smaller fruit size, I went with a Japanese eggplant. So these fruits are gonna be long, like I think maybe like 6 inches or so, and they're gonna be kind of skinnier when it comes to the actual eggplant size. For me, I have found that I like to have like the regular harvest, and I like to use eggplants in tomato sauces. I like to put them in ground beef, just cut them up. So a little bit of a smaller eggplant I find is easier than that. Those big like Black Beauty eggplants, 1, they take forever to ripen, and then 2, there's so much flesh and seeds in them that for the uses that I have, they're just not as good. Of course, if you're gonna want to do eggplant parmesan or something like that, maybe you want those big ones. I find in a container setting, this like very vigorous, sort of smaller producing eggplant is gonna be good. I also liked that this plant, given that it is the dark eggplant, has the pretty dark stem and kind of these like dark veining on the leaves. So this container, while it's practical, we're eating and enjoying out of it, it also is somewhat decorative. And so, having a little bit of that kind of like color in the leaves and everything, I don't know, it just adds to the overall look of the container. This is going to be a big, pretty plant right here, right in the middle. Some of like the white eggplants and stuff don't have the colored stem. So that's just something to be mindful of. It's the reason I selected it. And then for the tomato, I got a Roma tomato. So kind of just your classic Roma tomato. And honestly, I just picked this one because I don't have any Roma tomatoes in the garden right now. I've got some of the big heirlooms and I've got a lot of cherry tomatoes, but I don't have anything quite this size. And so it's kind of nice, like if we want to do salads, but I can still throw it in tomato sauces and we can still eat it fresh for the girls. And it's a nice, you know, decently small size, right? The Roma tomato. So again, you're going to be getting more harvest. The smaller the fruit size, typically, well, more often you're going to be coming out and harvesting and picking. And so that's just, again, kind of fun out here, especially in a small space. If, for example, this was like your only garden space, your only container, you just have to think about whether you want to sit and watch that heirloom tomato take forever and ripen, and then you'll get like the few, you know, sweet, amazing heirloom tomatoes, the big slicer tomatoes. You could go that route, or you can go the route of like a cherry tomato or a Roma tomato that's going to be producing tomatoes all the time, and you get to harvest them all the time. So it's kind of just like what you want, are going to enjoy more what you want to eat in your garden. Okay, so those are those three and the strawberries. The chives and the basil are nothing special variety-wise. These are just a basic chives, and the basil is just, it's either Genovese or sweet basil. That's actually the one I got at Trader Joe's, and then I just hardened it off and planted it out here. So nothing particularly special about that, but again, something that I'm just going to use. And I just picked herbs that we like to cook with, and then I didn't already have. I'm trying to grow a bunch of basil in the garden this year, though. I need to start, I think I'm just going to start some more from seed too in some other places and kind of get like a succession going. All right, now for the seeds. So we'll start with the cucumbers first. This is my absolute favorite cucumber variety. This is the salad bush cucumber. So it's a bush style variety. It's gonna have shorter vines. Probably, this is a 17-inch edge the raised bed. So it's probably just gonna come down, basically hit the ground and trail a little bit, but not too much farther. Some cucumber vines can be pretty big. These are fairly small. It gets like nice, like 4 to 6 inch fruit, and it just produces absolutely like crazy. I've had such good luck. You will see on these vines, once they get going, they are covered in flowers, just absolutely covered in flowers. And they are the type of cucumber that they don't need a pollinator, so they're like a greenhouse style cucumber. So even if the bees, like my garden is new this year, so I've seen a few bees, but the bees haven't really found the garden yet. It doesn't matter. They don't need pollinators. They will just produce cucumbers all on their own. If you're struggling with cucumbers, I mean, I've continued to struggle with cucumbers, but one of my strategies has been to get the like the greenhouse varieties that don't need pollinators, because I figure it's like one less thing that can go wrong. Then I picked some Swiss chard. There's so many varieties and colors of Swiss chard. My favorite Swiss chard is actually the Ford Hook Giant Swiss chard. That is stunning and incredible, but it's white. It has a white stem, and I just wanted this container to be kind of decorative, so I wanted to pick a Swiss chard that had a color. I have found that some of like the yellows and the pinks aren't as vigorous. I think the orange Swiss chard has done okay for me, some of the orange varieties, but I know that the rhubarb, one, it's that pretty red, and two, it's just really, it grows really well. It's a really tough, hardy variety. And the thing that's so nice about Swiss chard is that if you want to have greens in your garden in the summer, you know, lettuces, kales, spinaches, they can't handle the heat. They're gonna bolt, they're just gonna flower immediately, but Swiss chard can handle the heat. So you can grow this in zone 10 where I am here, you can grow this all year round. And it's gonna be delicious. It's kind of similar to like kale or spinach if you haven't had Swiss chard before, so you can add it to salads, you can put it on sandwiches. So you can also cook with it, which is handy, and I think that's gonna be really pretty in the garden. These are some beans that I'm gonna plant somewhere else. Okay, before we get to the flowers, let's talk about the bunching onions. So this is my favorite bunching onion. These are the Tokyo long white bunching onions. These are incredible bunching onions for in a container. They're just really, really delicious. They have great flavor. You can, you know, keep harvesting them, cut, come again, over and over, and they grow super well in containers in small spaces. The nice thing about bunching onions, of course, is you're going to seed them close together because they're going to create a bunch. So I just seeded a bunch in here, and then I'll kind of harvest them as needed and be able to just continue to come out. I wanted to have bunching onions in the garden because I find that it's one that's really useful for me to grow. Whenever I have recipes that call for like scallions, green onions, bunching onions, they always call for like 2 or 3, or I want to add just a couple to, you know, a salad or something. But when you get the bunch at the store, you get like a bunch of 10, and then I usually end up wasting some. So this is one of the things I like having in my garden. I also put in some of these hashiko. I haven't grown these before. I'm just kind of sort of trying them out. They don't seem to have anything particularly, like, they just seem like a good tasty green onion. But I do definitely, the Tokyo Long White, yeah, really, really good. And then the flowers. So I had to add some flowers, which I know it's gonna be really, really big. It's gonna be a very, very big full container out here, but I think it's gonna be okay. And I can always thin things out. So I did some of the lily put zinnias. I put these in another place in my garden. They're in a couple containers. So I thought just like a pretty repeat. And they also have a smaller flower head. So they'll be kind of pretty and delicate in and around all of the other things that were going on. It is a mix. So it's gonna be a bunch like the yellows and pinks and reds and stuff. So it'll be just very fun, summer, colorful. And then these cosmos I think are stunning. I had just a few seeds left, so I just put a couple in, but these are the apricot lemonade. So it combines the lemon with that apricot color, and it says, yeah, it's just a really unique, sought after heirloom. Where's the height on these plants? I don't see the height. They're gonna be pretty big, but they're gonna be kind of in these back corners of the bed, so I think they'll work out. It'll work out. Will the chives get kind of shaded out? I don't know. That's the only plant that I'm really worried about. I know the basil can hold its own. That basil is going to keep getting huge, and I'll just kind of do some pruning. Chives are pretty hardy, so you know, if I were to grow this container year after year, I would have to do a lot of like control to keep these chives from taking over this entire bed. So I'm not too worried about them. But throughout the season, I am going to come in. I will be trimming and pruning. When you plant super high density like this, you just need to know that you're going to be doing maintenance, and you're going to be coming out and you're going to be trimming, pruning, you know, keeping after things. You can prune tomatoes. I'll probably stake all these, and I'm just gonna be kind of micromanaging this bed. But here's the look of it. So fun. Oh my gosh. It's nice to have these raised beds kind of planted because it's starting to give some life to the garden. So anyways, that is everything in the mini kitchen garden. Stay tuned. I think it's gonna grow really well. You'd be surprised. Last year I did a garden bed like this. It was a whole garden, mini, you know, kind of like mini garden in a window box, and it actually did really well. I was really shocked at how well everything did last year in that window box. They really grew, they really produced. I got strawberries out of there. So yeah, follow along this season. I'll keep giving, you know, monthly tours, and I've been trying to do these like kind of like weekly videos just to show you how the garden's progressing as the seasons go on, and you can kind of keep an eye and see how this works. But this one is not too, I feel good about this. I think this container is going to be great. All right, that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.